the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
We live in a country almost Shemrano, Omundim Raso. Menewokasai, the Speaker of Parliament. Parliament as an institution, Speaker Bagbin, also to the tune of 5.4 million Ghana cedis. Financial loss to the states with taxpayers' money. Now, 2019, and Speaker Bagbin supervise Parliament. Pass Emra, your friend right to information bill. As I believe my coin Emma, we hear information bia my institution moi. We use Emra the request here one saka. Now here is the thing. The parliament, judiciary will be boom raswa or no hwe. Etwini panaso no nyina abumra no so. Emma right into information institution no afine no to the tune of 5.4 million Ghana cedis. I wish for. You have videos now. Speaker Bagbin on one kasa presiding over the passage of the bill. Now yet various institutions and are requesting for information or man deliver. Now if we live in a country where those who make the laws break the laws, then who are the followers to follow the law? Speaker Bagbin will be a okasa as if he's so principled. Say or no dear wombra so da. Nanso Mra Wankasa was supervising in 2019. Amoma Passy. Akasa a biggest achievement. And next Speaker Bagbin on Wankasa Bumbrano so. Abusan for and some I are wholesome. I are wholesome. Yam Kony go videos no. Na yeti emunsem.
At the time, Album Bagbin celebrated the achievement of a historic feat.
Honorable members, right to information bill 2018 is now read the third time and passed. This is a landmark achievement.
The passage of the list of violators of the law is long and includes oversight bodies such as the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, which is yet to pay a fine of 30,000 cedis. The Judicial Service of Ghana, also yet to pay a fine of 100,000 cedis. The Attorney General's Department, also yet to pay a fine of 50,000 cedis. The Public Procurement Authority, PPA, also yet to pay a fine of 100,000 cedis. The Ghana Police Service, which has paid 450,357 cedis. The Ghana Audit Service, which has paid 60,000 cedis, and the Parliamentary Service, which has paid 53,785 cedis. 5 institutions have paid the heaviest fines. They are the Agricultural Development Bank, a total of 1,365,000 Ghana cedis. Ghana Police Service, 450,357 cedis. The Ministry of Education, 260,000 cedis. The Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, 200,000 cedis. And the Lands Commission, 150,000 cedis. In terms of frequency, the Ministry of Education ranks highest with 4 penalties received, while the Ghana Police Service has received 3. 10 other institutions have suffered 2 penalties each. They include the Ghana Education Service, the Judicial Service, the Lands Commission, Public Procurement Authority, the Ministry of Energy, and the Urban Roads Department. What is worse, state institutions have been used. Private legal practitioner Zakaria Tanko Musa.
To go up, they have been very excellent, and I'm happy that they are penalizing those who are recalcitrant the way they have been doing. But very soon, Winston, the penalties are actually going to go up. That, these institutions will suffer are actually going to go up. And they'll go up in a way that I'll disclose very soon. These are just my preliminary comment. We appeared before the Subsidiary Legislating Committee in July of 2024. It was a bit late, but because of that, the rules or the regulations have not been passed. But the regulations are also very good, and they are going to be substantial and effective fines for non-complying institutions.
Legal practitioner, host of a news file on Joy News. We know the role he played in the right to information, one of our foremost advocates. He's joining us via phone, and Esther Hulu is Programs Manager, Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, also joining us on phone. Dr. Winifred Nafisa Mahama, Acting Director of the Information Services Department, is with us in studio. So good morning to you, Samson. Good morning to you, Esther. Hope you're all doing well.
Fine, thanks for asking.
Great. So let me start with you, Samson. And first of all, I just would want your, general thoughts about the revelations in this documentary.
Not that they are not known to me. I've been very familiar with them, and if you've monitored some of Samson's stake in 2022, 2023, I kept insisting that some things were being done wrong and we needed to do some things. I had called for the Attorney General, the Information Minister, and the President all together to show that they are not complicit in discouraging the use of the disgraceful conduct by officials who were doing some of these things, putting some of these stumbling blocks in our way. I actually also called for the dismissal of the heads of institutions who were embarrassing the government and giving the country such a bad name. I still believe in all of these, and I believe that the signaling is important. We must make it as a central part of the KPI, which Pidopon Nkrumah sought to have done for all the institutions which are within the public space and liable to the RTI. It must be part of their KPI that they are seen to be proactive in enabling disclosure of information for as long as it is not information that is exempt, and also for particular individuals to be held liable and to be made to pay from their pockets if they do not, comply with the request in a manner that is consistent with the law. For example, Occupy Ghana, after Sir John's will closed that, the Achimota forest had been privatized, some people had bought land, began to find information from the Lands Commission. The Lands Commission was so nonchalant in its conduct. Eventually, the matter got to the RTI Commission. They were sanctioned with 100,000. And every day that you don't pay, you are, as it were, accruing more debt. They were giving some 14 days to comply. They were not. Occupy Ghana wrote to them every day for the 14 days, just so they will do the right thing. Multimedia Group has made RTI applications, and similar, discouraging conduct has been seen on the part of, public officials who are in charge of these institutions. And I think we need to do the right thing and do it as quickly as possible. The RTI Commission, they have been very excellent, and I'm happy that they are penalizing those who are recalcitrant the way they have been doing. But very soon, Winston, the penalties are actually going to go up. That, these institutions will suffer are actually going to go up. And they'll go up in a way that I'll disclose very soon. These are just my preliminary comments. We appeared before the subsidiary legislating committee in July of 2024. It was a bit late, but because of that, the rules or the regulations have not been passed. But the regulations are also very good, and they are going to be substantial and effective fines for non-complying institutions.
Okay. I'll get back to you, but let me just go to Esther now, because I realize that the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, you host the RTI coalition in Ghana. So ordinarily one would expect that you have easy access to information, but you've had an interesting encounter with the Ghana Police Service, and the data that Corruption Watch analyzed shows that the police service suffered a penalty of 100,000 cedis because of your complaint. Tell us about that, Esther.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. So, yes, you made mention that because of the work that we have done so far, you'll be thinking that you would have easy access to information. No, that is really not the case. Yes, that is really not the case. Our request to the Ghana Police Service, in fact, there were in two. We made one was on, for my organization, the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. One of our area is also access to justice. Mm-hmm. So we follow issues with police accountability and all that. So we did a research. I mean, we've been collating cases on police brutality and killings and all that. So we've had those cases put together, and we sent the request. I think it was in 2002. Yes, we made the request in 2002, asking about investigation in those cases, because normally when these things happen, the police will issue a statement. Yes, this happened, and we are doing an investigation and all that. So, and like I said, as an organization that works in the area, we had an interest because, of course, we've been engaging and you're not getting any information as to how far things are going on those cases and how citizens, those whose rights have been abused, are being compensated and all that. So we've been working and engaging and following up. And while we are not getting the feedback, we invoke the RTI law to access information in those areas. And as you said, we didn't get the information. In fact, our first request, we even did it, per the law, when you are doing a request, you are supposed to address it to the information officer. When we addressed it to the information officer, our letter wasn't received because as at that time, that was 2002, like I said, as at that time, they had not put in place, they didn't have an information officer. So we sent the letter and they didn't take it. But because we also want some updates, we said, okay, even though the law insists, the law says that the letter should be addressed to an information officer, but then we said, okay, because the communication we got from them is that you should address the letter to the IGP. So we came back to the office, we addressed the letter to the IGP, and we sent the letter. And we didn't get any feedback for, per the law, within 14 days, you're supposed to get a feedback, whether even if it's a refusal or even whatever. But we didn't even get even acknowledgement of the receipt of the letter. We didn't get. So, per the law, you are supposed to, after the 14 days, if you don't get any feedback, it is deemed as refusal. So, and per the law, if it's deemed as refusal, you have the right to appeal to the head of the institution. And bear in mind, like I said, our letter was already addressed to the head of the institution anyway, because when we addressed to the information officer, the letter was rejected. So we said, okay, fine. Even though, so for us, from that time, we had the opportunity to appeal straight to the RTI commission, because that's the next line of action from the head of the institution. But we said, okay, this is an institution we work with, so let's write again to the head of the institution, but this time appealing to the head of the institution. Yes, again, we didn't get any feedback, and that was why we now wrote to the RTI commission. And then the RTI commission also wrote to them. And back and forth, the information wasn't given at the time that the RTI commission stipulated, and therefore they surcharged them that 100,000. Okay. And I think I want to make this point. One of the things that is also hanging in there, which is more like a gray area, is when the charge is given, afterwards, how is the follow-up done? Because when the charge was given to the Ghana Police Service, the charge does not replace the information. Even though you are being fined, you are also supposed to pay the fine and also give the information. But as we speak now, I think the fine was given, whether 2003 or 2003. Since then...
As in 2023?
Yes. 2023, sorry,
Good.
2023. Since then, as we speak now, we have not received all the information. Although afterwards, we received some correspondence sharing some updates on some of the cases. Like I said, we enumerated, I think, almost about 20 cases. We gave detailed information as the date, the area, the region, the area, the community that this happened. So since then, we have received some of the information, but up to date, most of the information we did not receive.
Okay. And have you asked for those information? Have you asked for the information that you didn't receive?
Yes. So, like I said, they have written to us with some of them, and then we wrote back reminding them on the remaining ones, but we have not received. But we have not gone back to the commission, and that is where I also want the commission to also look out. Maybe the commission, because I know the commission have a monitoring department, a department that is responsible to monitor some of these things. So I'm sure the commission can also be following up on some of these institutions. I know that it has a lot of work to do, but that is one of its core mandates, monitoring. Monitoring is one of its core mandates as per the law. So I believe that the commission can also take this up and ensure that although the fine is given, following up to ensure that the information is also given. Yeah.
Great. Let me bring in, Dr. Winifred Nafisa-Mahama, who is acting director of the Information Services Department. And you know that I know that the Information Services Department, you are the owners of the RTI architecture, right? What's your own assessment of compliance with the Act?
Okay, so I will just give a brief explanation on the whole administrative architecture on the implementation of the Act. You know, the Act was passed in 2019, but effective implementation started in 2020.
Yes.
So it gave some room for some administrative processes and structures to be put in place before the implementation of the Act. And so the Access to Information Division of ISD is one of such administrative structures that was put in place to look at the implementation of the Act. Within the Act, we are looking at it from 3 points of view. From the demand side, which is the people, the public asking for the information, and the supply side where we sit in, that is where we provide public, the demand side with the information, that's the public institutions and all that. So at our end, we provide the technical support through our information officers or the right to information officers to assess public institutions, to provide those services and also to assist them implement the part of the Act that public institutions have to. The Right to Information Commission is the ombudsman and is responsible for compliance and all that. Listening to the documentary, I realized that most of the issues raised are real and it's something that has come up. Most of the institutions who defied these happen, if I'm not wrong, between the first 3 years of implementation. As a law, and I see it as a public policy document that we are leaving. So with a new law, with public institutions and public officers used to performing or holding information in a particular way and being asked to go strictly by the law, it wasn't easy doing the sensitization, getting them to understand that public institutions are holding information in trust for the people. And so the people have a right to those information. Once I pay my tax, you pay your tax. The information generated is not for the public institution, but for the good of the general public. And so it helps in transparency and accountability to the people.
And talking about the, access to information division, I'm just interested on, the measures that you've taken to ensure the drive enforcement of the Act.
Okay, so the Act says public institutions should have information officers, information units to assessing the implementation. When the implementation began, the public institutions there was extensive stakeholder collaboration with Office of the Head of Civil Service, Public Service Commissions, Parliamentary Select Committee on Information and Communication to come out with a roadmap in the implementation of the Act. So public institutions were supposed to nominate designated officers who were trained to handle the requests that were coming in. But for a while, we realized that it was being a challenge because most of the designated officers are taking up that as an added responsibility. And for many cases, it was proving to be difficult to go through. So information officers were recruited by the head of civil service, and we trained them and posted them out to public institutions.